all aspiring and emerging leaders out there. Welcome to yet another episode of the Full Stack Leadership Podcast. The conversations cover three aspects for being an effective leader: leading self, leading and influencing others, and creating business impact. Hi, I'm Krishna Prasad, your host. Come, let's dive right in. Today, I'm sitting with Prasanna Rajan. Prasanna comes with an enormous experience on business strategy, new business growth in both traditional industries such as automotive and also new age companies. Prasanna till recently was the senior vice president at Flipkart and Myntra. Prasanna graduated out of BITS Pilani and has a full-time MBA degree from MIT's Sloan School of Management. He also has a master's degree from University of Ulm in Germany. Prasanna, it's indeed my privilege to have you on our show. Welcome.
Thank you, Keeping. It's my pleasure. Look forward to our discussion today.
Okay, nice. So Prasanna, I think one of my favorite question to all our guests is this is about a leadership journey, and you have kind of gone through a fairly adventurous leadership journey, as I see. It would be very nice if you could kind of help our listeners to share some of the twists and turns, which you have kind of encountered in this fascinating leadership journey of yours.
Sure, KP. I think you say twist and turn. There are a lot of it.
Uh-huh.
Let me do this. Maybe I will try to give you a career journey kind of overview. And it should tie directly to the kind of a leadership thing that I learned along the way.
Mm-hmm.
But I will also probably call out how each one of those career choices influenced my leadership journey. The question being on the leadership journey. So from a career standpoint, if I have to explain my whatever 22-year career, I think there are three phases of it. I think the first part of it is an engineering career, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
many of the kids grow out of like good engineering schools in India. I went on to work in automotive, and it's been very rewarding engineering experience. I got
Mm-hmm.
to work with some of the best companies, Mercedes-Benz, and later with General Motors, both in Germany and later in the US,
Mm-hmm.
working on what we today know as autonomous driving, advanced driver technologies, hands-on engineering, roles that also grew into more engineering management and supervision roles. That was part one of my career. And somewhere along around 2009, when the US auto industry was going through a massive transformation, I also got the interest and the opportunity to do my MBA
Mm-hmm.
at MIT Sloan. Um, at that point, if you'd asked me, I would have said I would still come back to be an engineering leader using my MBA in a core engineering role.
Mm-hmm.
But I would give myself a lot of credit for being open to accept new things, in MBA and allow myself to be like, driven into new things that I was learning. I think I
Mm-hmm.
did my summer internship at Apple, which is again an engineering company, but I did a non-engineering role. I did a supply chain role
Mm-hmm.
that also helped me to understand things beyond engineering. And I think one thing that stuck with me at that time was the ability to take big decisions for the company, right? And I at that time felt that also, you have to be a thinker, especially the strategic thinking aspects of leadership that is required for you to, in a career, long-term career. And that kind of made me to take a second part of my career, which is
Mm-hmm.
the consulting career.
Ah, okay.
I went and joined in Chicago post B school, Bain and Company, one of the top consulting firms. Again, the time my interest was to do this for a brief while, to just
Mm.
build this muscle, this strategic muscle, and again come back to a mainstream engineering company. But again, I allowed myself to be like consumed by what I was
Okay.
experiencing. It was very rewarding. So I went on to be a consultant for longer. About
Okay.
seven years, I stayed in strategic consulting, grew from being a consultant to a manager to a principal to all of that.
I see. Okay,
Uh,
Prasanna. So sorry if I can just pause you here because that's a fascinating kind of twist from, I think, from an engineering, true engineering in a classical, automotive industry to consulting. So this is an interesting choice. I mean, I would call it as a choice which you made. Getting into full time into Sloan School of Management. I know like it's one of the world's best management school. But joining full time, how difficult was that decision? I mean, was it in the first place difficult at all?
I think it is difficult, right?
Mm-hmm.
Especially, you forego a lot of things that you take for granted. I wasn't like new in the industry. I was already working for 8, 9 years.
Mm-hmm.
In the auto industry, you have the comfort of a job, the fixed
Yeah.
salary coming in. I also was a new dad at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So I think a common sense would have told me not to do this full time, do something part time, which would have been easier both financially and also not to disrupt the career.
Mm-hmm.
And to a question on why I would have done that,
Mm-hmm.
uh, I even now after so many years of having done that, I would say unless you do a full-time program and deeply, immerse yourself in a program,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you're not giving yourself the optionality to change anything.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I at least had that time this belief that I'm going to use my B school as a place I truly learn. And if I come back to engineering, I come back with this wisdom of completely like the acceptance and the knowledge that I want to be an engineer for life.
Mm-hmm.
To me, like the 2 year program gives you the breather, short year, one year programs, etc. You almost always like doing it so fast. And
Mm-hmm.
as you would know, KP, I think the
Yeah.
engineering school, B schools have a lot of assignments, tests, exams, recruiting, everything goes on, and 1 year kind of would
Mm-hmm.
not give you that opportunity. So I would say it was risky even then. But I thought the reason why I would do that only because it allows you to rethink everything, full reset.
Okay. No, I think that's a fascinating thing. Again, I would just like you to dwell a little bit more on that topic. Because some of the things which a lot of young leaders, young managers we meet, they keep asking, how much of academic knowledge I need to get. Of course, B school is a lot more practical also in addition to academic. But you made the decision. How much of it was the head-based decision? Oh, I'm, investing on myself, and how much was it closer to your heart?
I see. Okay. See, I think for the young audience,
Hmm.
I think there is always, we have to put a premium on learning, right? I
Mm.
don't know when it happens. For some
Mm.
people, unfortunate people, it happens very early in the undergrad level.
Mm.
And I think there is always this question that we can throw at: can $150,000 US MBA, is it even worth it?
Mm.
Or for that matter, same, it's gotten expensive in India also, right?
Yep.
I think the cost of that is something you should look at it like how you framed it, which is on self-improvement.
Mm.
And there are many ways in which you can, recoup some of it at least, in
Mm.
terms of participating, etc. The schools are very academic.
Yeah.
I think there is also almost all the top schools are now, combining, more experiment and hands-on learning with the classroom learning so that you can support yourself better even in a full-time program.
Mm. Mm.
Uh, but I think it's a big one, to incur the kind of a cost and forego in my case. But
Yes.
thankfully, the top schools also help you with all these options while you are in the school.
Okay.
And again, coming out of this, I think probably one big takeaway for me,
Yeah.
KP, is you have to
Hmm.
create that optionality. Right. For
Mm.
example, if you sit there in front of an Excel and never make that first move to go join a program,
Yeah.
or you will not even know what the option 2 and 3 are going to be after walk the first door, right? So
Exactly.
to me, like that optionality, and that requires a little bit of a gut. And I would say not just for B school, right? A new job, a new career, a new country,
Mm.
everything requires that. Then many things open up after.
Mm.
And quite frankly, I did not end up spending as much as I thought I would spend in a B school.
Okay.
Purely because once you get in, you have internships, you have other teaching opportunities, and other ways to support yourself
Mm.
and
Mm.
also learn in different ways.
Excellent.
So
Excellent. Hmm. So, I mean, during this business school, Of course, when you entered, you thought you will come back to the good old automotive engineering, but you saw an opportunity that was again a choice to get into more consulting, domain. So talk us through that.
I think, I would probably say a few unpopular things, right? One
Hmm.
is I was already 33 years when I was finishing MBA. And consulting is not just in India, also globally, it's a very young person, like
Hmm.
a 26-year-old kind of person starts in consulting. So it's a good 5 year of things that I would forego
Okay.
by again getting into an entry level in consulting. And consulting
Hmm.
banking, the way it works globally, especially in the US, is
Hmm.
it doesn't matter your credentials pre-MBA, you start as a first year associate and then you can
Hmm.
grow faster,
Hmm.
but you are again resetting everything, right? So
Hmm.
I was at the same level as someone who was a fresh MBA and no experience, right? So that is something that was important. The second thing that was important at that time was also this question of walking away from engineering. To
Hmm.
me, the biggest one, I was also a little infatuated with some of the big decisions that you being a part of big decisions companies make.
Hmm.
Let's say, for example, a massive M&A
Hmm.
or a massive like a transformation work, right? And
Hmm.
as an engineer, as an engineering leader in General Motors, I was there, but I was not there in any of the big decisions, right? Of
Hmm.
course, had I stayed and become a senior director, a VP engineering one day, I would have that seat at the table. But I also wanting to be in a job or a role that allows me to be part of big decisions. And it's a little bit of a coming out of a fresh MBA. You learn so many things, you want to put that to use, right? So you kind of also a little eager and impatient to look for it. And those dimensions within consulting tick the box. The biggest
Hmm.
negative for me is to pretty much walk in as a fresher
Okay.
after 8.5 years of automotive
Hmm.
and start altogether new things in the Bain.
Wow. Yeah, yeah. Actually, we introduce a concept called S curve, and where there is this dramatic shift from one stage of your career to another, and many times you actually let go of the first S curve and actually try and catch the next one. So there is a discontinuity, is what we call. So in your case, I'm sure that discontinuity probably was, kind of fairly big, right? Getting into a consulting space fully knowing that okay you're starting almost like an entry level associate.
Yeah, and I think
Yeah.
I also was very fortunate to have a career advisor in my
Mm-hmm.
MBA,
Mm-hmm.
and pretty much she explained this curve that you are describing
Mm-hmm.
in much more simpler way at that time, right? She more or less encouraged me to look at career decisions, not looking backwards.
Mm.
I think some of those things are sunk cost, and we kind of tend to overestimate its importance in a long-term career. Those are formative, years of career building. But if something is new, shiny, and attractive, it's okay to do it and
Mm.
not be burdened by just because I did something for eight,
Yeah.
10 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't have to necessarily do the same things again.
Mm, okay. No, I think this is a very key knowledge nugget. In many of my conversations, we try to extract these knowledge nuggets, and one knowledge nugget is beautifully put by you. Career advice from mentors, and not necessarily looking backwards, right? You're almost always trying to look into the future when you're making this choice.
Yeah, yeah. And,
Okay.
and 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 looking backwards, can constrain you to make a decision which is a little
Mm,
more left field, more bold,
mm, mm,
because you tend to look at life as a set of constraints and very linear,
mm.
and you will not make that big jump.
Okay. Excellent. Excellent. So, yeah, let's continue with this journey. So, consulting, Bain Consulting, and
Bain
then,
Consulting happened,
yeah.
and
Mhm.
I started in Chicago. Then subsequently, I moved back to India through Bain. I started with Bain in Mumbai, and later
Mhm.
at Bangalore. And then all through this, again, as you would know, consulting is across industries. So I
Mhm.
got to experience something that I truly was looking forward to, which is like I did telecom, I did minerals and mining, I did cement manufacturing, I did automotive, IT and IT services, and retail, consumer products. So across my 6, 7 years at Bain has been that way. I started out to be a generalist, and then I started doing multiple industries and multiple capabilities.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of led me to talk to a lot of clients and a lot of decision makers, CEOs, in many meaningful ways about the business,
Mm-hmm.
which is what I was trying to solve for anyway by making a decision to come to consulting. And one such interaction took me to a client of mine
Okay.
in Dubai,
Uh-huh.
MR Group, where in one of the conversations on how to make the company more customer centric, I
Mm.
was offered an opportunity to come and do it. Right. Again, the next big thing of from advising to just doing it happened a little more seamlessly for me. You know, to advise a client on how to be more customer centric, to have the responsibility of doing it.
Okay.
This was just pre-COVID, so I moved to Dubai
Mm.
from
Mm.
Bangalore and took over the responsibility of head of customer experience at MR Group, and doing things that I was preaching and advising clients for many
Okay.
years.
Yeah. 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 So, I think it'll be good to also share some of your experience. As you said, as a consultant, probably you're into more advisory role. Of course, you bring all the, kind of knowledge which a consultant company comes. But how was it to actually get it done in, kind of real life in a client's place?
So I think consulting companies that way are a little more, different and nuanced in how they approach the problem.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And thankfully for me, Bain has always prioritized the results delivery as much as the advice. And among the top firms, Bain's differentiation has been to handhold the clients and go achieve the results
Mm.
that was advised. And that allowed me that philosophy, dictated how we approach the engagements. And especially in my senior years at Bain, you pretty much start from day one the more results delivery conversations as much as what to be done, whether it is a massive transformation, etc. And I
Mm.
think clients value that a lot more because ideas are probably is important, but also like can be gotten easily. But to help the client think bigger,
Mm.
think more disruptively, and help them set up a results office
Mm.
of
Mm.
any big projects from day one or month one is as important as the advice that you are giving, right? And that kind of goes into your DNA. So you
Yeah.
pretty much all your toolkits approach the problem with that lens of how do we do it,
Mm.
whether it is the team that you have to mobilize or the resources, other types of resources, or getting the organization understand the problem in that light. All of that is very much part of the advisory.
Mhm, mhm, mhm. Okay, very good, very good. So we'll stay a little bit on this because this is again a topic which a lot of young leaders and emerging leaders kind of, struggle with. I like one statement what you made, I wanted to be a part of a big decision for a company. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm sure with your consulting background and so on, so you could be part of such decisions. But let's talk, let's say, a normal middle manager in a fairly large company or even a mid-sized company. One of the key things that keep bothering many of them is, hey, look, I'm doing execution, I'm doing my whatever, right? Strategy implementation well, I'm doing a project execution well. But how do I make sure that I'm connecting to the bigger purpose of the company? It may not be a big decision, but how do I still connect to the bigger purpose of the company? Is there anything which you want to share to the listeners?
I think it's a very fair question, right? I
Hmm.
think, see, to me, like, it's not a very, there's no shortcut answer to this problem, right?
Hmm.
Like every other role, I think you have to earn your right to be at that table.
Hmm.
And there are
Hmm.
probably a lot of shortcuts or other easier options to get there quickly.
Hmm.
And I think first of all, what I'm at least observed in many of my clients and in my job currently
Hmm.
in the industries, um, I think people should do a lot more above and beyond their roles.
Hmm. Hmm.
I think that kind of people know about it, but they probably don't make the kind of time. Uh, See, I think we often talk about this fancy word called owner mindset.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Uh, I think I think people have to demonstrate that attitude day in and day out, and
Mm-hmm.
that means that pretty much like every boss that I work with appreciate that you are able to think like them and worry like them in many problems and take and go above and beyond the responsibilities that are defined for the role
Mm-hmm.
to be able to do something. That to me is a very big part of
Mm-hmm.
the second one. You will be not surprised, but it's actually important to underscore. Is to You have to be a massive energy giver in an organization. I think there is this
Ah.
concept that I got introduced while I was a consultant.
Mm.
And to me, it played a very big role on how I looked at least the second half of my career. Um, I think people want to work with people who are more energy giving in a workplace.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually, notice that many of the young aspiring leaders, while they may be good in what they do,
Mm-hmm.
um, I think they are very constraints driven in an organization, right? It's very common in my consulting days that people come and talk to me about 10 things that are not there in their company.
Uh-huh.
And within, I think the golden rule people say that when an incoming call comes, if you are not if you're delaying picking it up or not answering that call, that means that person is an energy vampire
Mm.
and not an energy giver. And the energy givers calls are usually attended fast, and people understand and they're able to influence more, right? I think all of this leads to the other question you're asking:
Mm.
how can I get there and be part of a bigger decision? It's both hierarchical in many companies, but also
Mm.
you can be part of that inner circle even if you are a junior member by exhibiting a few of the things that I spoke about, right? One is to be willing to do a lot more and massively energy giving, because people like
Mm.
to surround themselves with energy givers.
Mm.
And probably uh, the other thing that I think only we learn in senior management, but I think it's important in middle management, is also very comfortable with gray. Um, I think what happens, at least I noticed in my career, is that the early years of your career, you are a very black and white person,
Mm.
and maybe by the time you finish your career, when you're in your probably late 50s, you are a all gray person in the sense that you don't have to worry so much about the right and the wrongs beyond a point in a
Yeah.
workplace, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
How do you transition and how soon you transition and allow a good 60-70% of your workplace to be in gray, which includes people also,
Includes
right? For
people.
example, one of the things that I think consulting teaches you is that you don't have to have an opinion about a person
Mm.
till till it's very late, right? In things,
Mm.
you don't have to put them in a good or a bad box.
Right.
You can keep this person in gray for good, in a full part of your engagement, because
Yeah.
this person is important for you to be
Yeah.
influenced
Mm-hmm.
to influence. So
Mm.
to me, like some of the middle management leaders that go through this problem that you are describing,
Yeah.
they may be able to do their functional roles very well. They show up, they do day in and day out, but they probably miss out on some of the things, right? Which is like the attitude they carry at work,
Mm.
the ability to influence coming from the other things. To me, if this done right, I think you will get there very soon, at least to be part of a decision-making circle
Okay. Mm-hmm.
that leads you to, when the position comes, when your seniority comes, you automatically are part of a much bigger decision.
Sure. Yeah. No, this is absolutely great. This piece of, insight, I'm sure it'll benefit our listeners. I want to stay on this topic because this is an extremely critical topic for many of our, young and emerging leaders. You spoke about above and beyond the role and responsibilities. Okay.
Yep.
So, my question is, uh, how do you go about partnering with your own boss or the senior management so that you can unearth these opportunities, like, hey, how I can even contribute above and beyond the role? Is there a discovery of opportunity that is needed? Because I'm sure it will not happen just like that.
It is not yes and no, right?
Hmm.
I think
Hmm.
I think I think everybody, at least the keen-eyed person in a workplace, almost always observes problems that requires a certain type of solves.
Mm-hmm.
right? I think the only change is whether you think of that as part of your responsibility or not.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, like, a problem like that, something on the face, whether it is, some productivity initiative, some tool development, something, I will tell you, when I go into a consulting engagement with a client,
Mm-hmm.
I will just organize their life in Excels because Excel comes a little more easily for me, and
Mm.
my client almost always is not as Excel trained as I am.
Okay.
It's a very simple act of finding, delivering value with a very little effort,
Uh-huh.
and suddenly overnight you impacted their life a little bit, right? And you can do this. And I'm not even talking about having a coffee outside work and being nice to people. I'm talking about purely a value add that you see inefficiencies everywhere, and workplace
Mm.
is full of inefficiency.
Mm. Mm.
And you can almost always find a productivity improvement opportunity or employee morale improvement. I kind of, I'm actually very surprised in many organizations. People don't do what is the stepping back, right? What is the boss's worry, right? The boss has
Mm.
to manage work, team,
Mm. Mm.
and his boss,
Mm.
his or her boss, right?
Yep.
Essentially, you can take one part of this problem and be of value,
Mm.
to organize the teams better, to have a much better productivity kind of measures, some kind of tools. To me, like, uh, I have not yet come across situations where you just don't see these projects that you can take up.
Uh-huh.
And that role is not well defined. I think you can just create one. And
Mm.
as we consultants say sometimes, right, an unstructured and unorganized workplace is an opportunity for you to fix everything, right? You fix everything from how people show up at work, how people discuss, how people write meeting minutes, how people, like, get to action plans. Everything is an opportunity for a curious person to add value. So
Mm.
to me, I've seen less of cases where you don't have these projects and you don't necessarily, it did not come top down.
Ah, okay.
Often, most of the times it is like something that you observe and you do it in your free time, or rather you create time for this and you run these pet projects. And something can come very structured, right? The boss asks in a team meeting, who would be willing
Mm.
to do something a little more structured, and you put up your hand to say that you will do it.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
to me, like, both opportunities exist, but more of a bottom up
Okay.
work would carry a lot more weight.
Okay. No, I think that's good. So yeah, so we'll continue with your journey, and I'm very curious to know like how this new age companies, which I think more recently you're part of, what is the key difference you saw, and how did you manage leadership in such new age companies?
Oh, that's a full podcast we have to do. That's like
Okay.
a lot more interesting
Uh-huh.
insights. I think so. I told you about my Dubai adventure, and kind of
Mm-hmm.
it lasted till about COVID. That forced me to come back to India, and that time I was kind of looking to go back to an Indian company.
Mm.
But there are a couple of things that I was like hesitating, right? One is, I wanted to experience the new thing that was happening in India at that time, a consumer internet,
Mm-hmm.
a dot-com business was getting created, getting funded. And again, some of the same things that I experienced in my B school days about completely resetting what I've done so far to go to a place. And to me, that was very important because it was very obvious even then, and more so now,
Mm.
that the next 15, 20 years of my career will be with younger companies or younger problems, right? And these are fundamentally different, where there's no
Mm-hmm.
institutional knowledge. A
Uh-huh.
person in the 40s, entering this kind of workplaces require you to completely change the way you work with your
Mm.
colleagues and your boss and your teams.
Mm. Mm. Mm.
That is both an opportunity and and a challenge.
Mm.
And that's when I think an opportunity to work in Flipkart Group came about, and it also allowed me to think of strategy in a very new light.
Mm. Mm.
Strategy in a bigger companies is fairly straightforward. It is a lot of planning, a lot of 5-year plans. But an industry that is like so young, where every 18 months or so everything changes, requires you to approach strategy very differently. The problem statement was very good.
I see.
Leaders are all young. Leaders are all in their mid 30s.
Hmm.
So you pretty much work with an organization that is a lot younger than you are as a person in your career,
Hmm.
and everything that you have learned about an industry or about a particular functional area is has to be rethought. To me, the challenge was more appealing than posed a
Hmm.
big challenge.
Okay.
Again, going back to our old rule of not
Yeah.
making a career decision looking backwards,
Mm-hmm.
I said, okay, let me embrace it, and in this process, I will lose some years of seniority, so be it.
Hmm.
And I took up the role, and it's been 5 years since. I think I would not work for anything but a younger company again, right?
Hmm.
The learning is so fast, uh, and the experiences have been good.
Hmm.
Maybe I can go into details of how different these are. I think that's your second part of your question.
Yep.
I think these companies are very different, and probably I'll also make another statement here. I think there's always this question of generalist roles versus specialist roles,
Mm-hmm.
and I think one of the things that you would probably notice in many of the younger companies is that there are many more generalist roles than specialist roles because of the
Hmm.
nature of the industry. Obviously, there are core specialist roles like engineering and
Hmm.
others.
Hmm.
But let's say a general purpose degree, a general management programs that you have gone to, will be more useful in these companies
Uh-huh.
because you have to focus on more than one area. It could be sales, it could be marketing, it could be something else,
Yeah.
customer acquisition. So
Mm-hmm.
you are better off operating as you know a generalist with two three areas to think about than a specialist who go very deep, right? So that
Hmm.
kind of
Hmm.
allows a personality like mine also to like and thrive in a setup like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's I think a big one. The second thing is just purely because of how the industry you operate dictates the culture of the company is very true in some of these internet-based companies. What
Hmm.
I mean is that things change so fast. When I was working with mining clients or cement clients or
Hmm.
automotive,
Hmm.
things don't change at that rate.
Hmm.
A 5 year, I work in real estate. Real estate also doesn't change, right? It's
Hmm.
like fundamental tools of the industry all remain the same. So what you did 10 years ago is very useful even today. Here, I think, especially in a geography like India, I think you have to unlearn and relearn so quickly. That kind of poses a altogether new challenge to how you want to influence, especially when you come in as an experienced hire in the later part of your career. How can you come and make that influence?
Mm-hmm.
And your team members are probably like at best 30 to 35-year-old leaders, and by no means they are any less capable. Just that they have gone all to an accelerated path of development and career growth. And to me, like those are the big differences of industry itself. Like problem statements are all new. You pretty much have to go back and co-create that, and then work with team members that are of a very different era or age group
Hmm.
in developing solutions. Those are kind of a big changes that you will find
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
in these companies.
Yeah. Yeah.
The other one is, I think that, because of your earlier question about how do the leadership style changes,
Hmm.
you pretty much become a servant leader, because you are better than somebody only because you know the process, you probably have better EQ, all those things, right? But domain knowledge is not always necessarily just because you've done something for longer doesn't mean that you know something deeper.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So hence you have to kind of adapt to that reality and be there and bring value in terms of how you help all connect. How do you kind of prioritize a problem among many other distractions? How
Mm-hmm.
do you kind of, the execution excellence that comes, at this stage of your career? That's like still valid thing to contribute.
Hmm.
How to work with people, especially external stakeholders, etc., is also something that. So you kind of, if you have to kind of take your career and put some of your soft skills on one end and hard skills on the other end, your soft skills are a lot more useful in a
Hmm.
younger company,
Hmm.
and then you learn the domain very quickly and be more useful.
Hmm. mm, mm. There is always this question about speed of decision making, which, generally there is this feeling that, okay, some of these conventional industries, they take much longer compared to these new age companies, internet-based companies, and so on. So, can you throw some light on what exactly you mean by high-speed decision making? What kind of decisions happen so fast? Can they also change, as they realize that, okay, maybe, you need to make some reversals and so on?
I think to start with, I think the industries they operate dictates the pace of decision making.
Mm,
Right? I think that's the first one, right? I think when
mm,
I was at Apple, and I kind of went to Apple at the exact same year, in the first half of the year, I was working at General Motors. Second half of the year, I went to Apple.
mhm,
It's just like, in the same geography, two industries were dictating two companies in a very different way. In the sense that
mhm,
consumer electronics was moving a lot faster than automotive.
mhm,
So
mhm,
hence, 1 year is a significant amount of time in the life of Apple. So a lot of decisions, whether it's product decisions or capital allocation, everything, geographical expansion, whatever be it, has to happen at a much faster rate at Apple. And then come to India to a consumer the internet company. Uh, the competitive environment and the nature of the industry itself sets the pace of decision making. So you
mm,
cannot, what probably can take a month for a executive committee to come and sit and discuss and decide.
mm,
Uh, we don't have a kind of a luxury just because some other competitor would move faster, some other
yeah,
target would be acquired.
mhm,
So hence the onus is on the leadership to make a quick decision, not necessarily the correct and the best decision always.
mm, mm,
The second thing is the risk taking is also like was is possible because the decisions are not entirely reversible because the big decisions are still big decisions, right? Whether
mm,
it is like
mm,
Walmart's decision to invest in Flipkart or some big decision that involves due diligence and time it takes. Those are all still needs that kind of a time. But I'm talking about a little bit more everyday decisions for a quarterly,
yeah,
revenue achievement or a
mm,
profitability. So these decisions are all like something that needs to happen quickly because the world moves faster,
mm,
and therefore it has to be made.
mm,
The second thing is this idea that more time means better decision. I think it's not always correct, right? Unless you use the time to do much better diligence on the decision. But if the variables keep changing so fast in this time between two meetings, again, you are having waited that long to make a decision has probably not as much value as probably making a best decision given today's variables.
mm,
So to me, like the industry itself dictates, and probably it's a more new culture, not burdened by the ways of working of the past that allows these companies to move faster.
right, right, yeah,
Take a very simple example of a hiring decision.
mm,
Okay, let's say two companies, company A, which is a little bit more established old company, and then team company
mhm,
B, which is a younger company. The younger company almost always will make a quick decision on the hiring.
mm,
The
mm,
older company, by the time they do the 6 rounds of interview, getting the calendar organized in one place to get all the leaders to meet that candidate and then they align on the decision. That's a 1 month process, right? In this
mm,
company, a younger company, they just come together like one day,
yeah,
morning the candidate comes, evening a decision can be rolled out.
mm, mm,
And
mm,
I think it's all about how we approach the problem. I think these younger companies are that way, or looking at it with a fresh light that allows them to move faster.
sure, sure. No, absolutely. This is one more knowledge nugget which I could pick up, Prasanna, from this. There are two things which you mentioned. One is just because I'm longer in the domain is not necessarily that I have deeper knowledge. To think about value addition, I need to be not thinking, oh, I've been just, in this company for that long, so I'm naturally entitled to add more value. That I think one myth you kind of busted. The second is you sit on an idea for more time thinking that the decision can be better. That's the second myth.
Absolutely, and I stand by that. I've seen real examples of those cases. then all the nuggets you call it play out in
Mm-hmm.
real life.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's important, right? I'll re-emphasize this point about experience beyond a particular. I would say about 4 or 5 years is what it takes to master
Mm-hmm.
any of the new discipline. Obviously, granted, there are jobs that require deeper 20, 30 years of going deep and building, let's say, engineering careers or
Mm-hmm.
space technology
Mm-hmm.
or molecular biology. So still, there are areas where you need that kind of depth. But
Mm-hmm.
I think many of us made the mistake, and all of us are guilty of making that mistake at different points in our career. We kind of overthought our importance in a not so deep enough field, right? I feel that
Yeah.
it doesn't require that level of depth.
Uh-huh.
And suddenly we see somebody with limited experience, let's say 4 or 5 years experience, with a lot more energy,
Yeah.
coming and doing a much better impact than so I use this word in my discussions with team is like energy almost always trumps experience. So somebody who is more willing to learn and put in the hours and do things can surpass somebody with much deeper expertise and probably lacking some of those, right?
Mm-hmm.
And many of the new age areas may not require that much expertise as we all think it does.
Yeah.
A good general manager with seriously learning a new area can become a reasonably dangerous leader with that expertise
Mm-hmm.
in a 5 6 year period.
Mm, mm, mm. No, absolutely, absolutely. So I can't help but ask this question. So especially these young companies nowadays, everybody wants to call themselves AI-centric company and they want to leverage AI. Then you also mentioned that there is little institutional knowledge that has been built in this because they've just come together new and so on. So, what do you think from a leadership point of view? How can a leader get prepared with this whole AI age and still be able to deliver a lot of value?
I think it's still out there. I think none of us have figured probably how will we navigate in a AI disrupted world, both in terms
Hmm.
of enhancing our own jobs if it remains, or like creating new value, right? I think the probably some of the proven methods may still be valid. I think what it is that I think that curiosity to rethink everything about your workflow and starting from what your company does and how it does it, I think requires a massive rethinking because I was just reading a very interesting article that talks about you might not have done some tasks in your company or jobs
Hmm.
that your industry needs to do because it was prohibitively expensive, both resource wise or capital wise, to do it. Previously in a pre-AI era, right? So
Hmm.
I think all leaders we have to rethink with absolutely no fear of jobs, right? I think we
Hmm.
we tend to be more constrained when we are asked to explain the role of AI in our job. And I think there is a phase that all of us have to go through to step back a little and completely rethink our industry, our company, in the context of what can change.
Hmm.
And this conversation is very important because if you don't do it, a younger company will come and do it
We'll do it.
because they would see that as an opportunity to enter. So I think we are only postponing that conversation. We are not avoiding that conversation ever, right? So to
Hmm.
me, like the first responsibility of a leader is like every now and then comes the technology that asks you to fundamentally rethink what you do and your relative positioning vis-a-vis the industry
Hmm.
and etc. So there is a strategy exercise of sorts of confirming your existence in this AI era. I think it's very important, at least for a part of the leadership.
Hmm.
The second part I would emphasize is that there is definitely new ways of working. And I would say even new ways of organizing ourselves, right? It's not
Hmm.
about old org structures and everybody does a little bit more AI in their roles, right? I think roles can completely change. Roles can, go away. We can live without certain roles, or rather, new roles will come up in terms of, championing AI in an organization. So I think it calls for a little bit of a fundamental rethink of how we organize ourselves, embracing AI more than, staying the way we are, and try to get AI into our life. So to me, like I think these two has to be done at a company level. I think as an individual leader, it's also one of those moments that can redefine, the job, the role, the person that encounters AI in their lifetime. So definitely worth reskilling, understanding this deeply, and again, don't bring a very short-term lens to this in terms of how what you learn from it, but also like see more disruptively. Every one of those things, the use cases that I'm saying is like looks so disruptive that we can create a company out of it.
Hmm.
So how do we navigate that smartly without the burden of the past?
Yeah.
Is I think what will and doesn't matter which stage of your career you are in, right? For a young person, it's probably a lot more easier, but it's a advanced part of your career. Still, I think a lot can be done.
Hmm. Hmm. Excellent. Excellent. Okay, it was a fascinating conversation. So, Prasanna, like, is there anything which you want to kind of again, share to the listeners out there before we kind of wrap up?
I think we covered most of the stuff. I think one thing probably worth mentioning, especially to the younger
Mm-hmm.
audience, KP, is see one of the things I find very useful in this stage of my career is the flexibility that I have given,
Mm.
right? That ability to work across industries, work across problem statements, and have less baggage of the past. And not everything is very carefully constructed. It's also a lot of chance that I have kind of took.
Mm.
And to me, like compared to a lot of my peers who kind of look at the world a lot more linearly, I think I just don't want them to be afraid to try very early in their career.
Mm.
The flexibility is a new norm because we don't know careers how it will be over a 20, 30-year period, right? I
Yeah.
think things will change.
Yeah.
I think the best gift that you can give yourself in your career is that optionality and that
Mm.
flexibility.
Mm.
So I cannot emphasize like this enough how important that is. So one thing that I definitely want to tell your younger audience is allow multiple such pivots in your learning journey, leadership journey. So you feel more flexible in the second half of your career to do many things. Many industries, many companies, many roles.
Excellent. No, I think that's a great piece of, I would say advice. The best gift you can give to yourself is give yourself more options, allow multiple pivots so that you get that flexibility in the later part of your career. I think that's fantastic. Prasanna, again, I appreciate you joining us on this show. It was great conversing with you. I have picked up a lot of knowledge nuggets, which we will anyway, put it as part of show notes. So again, I deeply appreciate you joining and spending the time with us. Thank you very much, and have a great evening.
Thank you, KP, and thanks for the opportunity. It was pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I thank you very much for listening to this episode of the Full Stack Leadership Podcast. Please don't forget to share your feedback, any suggestions on improvement, or specific leadership topics to talk about. Feel free to share the link to this podcast with your colleagues and friends who you think might find it useful. Thanks again, and I'm your host Krishna Prasad, signing off for now.